Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting. Will you please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance? Lord, we're meeting today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Once again, welcome to the December 19th meeting, last one of the year. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo.
Here.
Mr. Parsons.
Here.
Mr. Reddy.
Here.
Mrs. Dosa.
Here.
Mr. George.
Here.
Mr. Young.
Here.
Mrs. Rissel.
Okay, Miss Rissel
Bless
seems
you.
to
Thank you.
be missing it. Did she call anybody?
Yeah, I knew she was going to be out.
Okay. Well, I'd like to ask for a motion to excuse Miss Rissel.
Make a motion to excuse Mrs. Rissel.
I second.
Okay, Mr. George has made a motion to excuse. Ms. Dosa has seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Minutes. You have the minutes from the December 5th council meeting in your packet. Did anybody see any corrections that need to be made? Well, then, council, I would ask for a motion to adopt as printed.
I make a motion to adopt the minutes as printed for the December 5th.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Dosa has made a motion to adopt as
Second.
printed. Seconded by Mr. Parsons. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Then you have the minutes also for the December 5th work session. Anybody have any corrections to make in this minutes? Then I would ask for a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Ms. Dosa has made a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Mr. George has seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Excuse me.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Correspondence. I don't have any correspondence. There is this note from Mr. Bauer on the gas aggregation. We will discuss that in a little bit, though. So. Guest and special events. Mayor, you have a special presentation.
I do. I'm going to go up there. So that mic. All right. So with this being my last council meeting, I wanted to recognize a couple residents who have worked really hard on behalf of the city and haven't really gotten much credit for it. So the first one I'm going to call up is actually Vicki Sturworth.
Me?
Come on up here so I can talk a little bit about you.
Both of us? Not just you.
Dave deserves it too. He's put up with me for way too long, but come over here. So Vicki is the unofficial mouthpiece and PR person for the city of Mount Healthy. And I really think she plays an important role. We know in social media right now, it can get ugly, it can get toxic. When I started as mayor, I was very active on Facebook. I created my own mayor page and promoted the city page. And to be honest with you, I stopped. I stopped Nextdoor, I got off Facebook, and I ended when I shared that the dairy bar was opening and there were 10 or 20 negative comments. Like, if people are mad about ice cream, like, why is it worth posting? But Vicky every day takes a walk around the city, takes beautiful pictures of the city, posts it online, and then as soon as anyone is negative, she responds with positivity, always. She's defensive and she'll defend our city, but in a positive manner that you can't get angry about. And we need that. We need more of that in the world. So I wanted to hold her up and award her with a key to the city. To Vicky Sturworth. It says, to Vicky Sturworth for decades of pride and promotion of our hometown.
That's sweet. Thank you.
Picture? All right, and the next one, I think I broke it when I carried it up here. So I will get it fixed. Sometimes the glue on these messes up. Diane Kallmeyer, come on up. So Diane is another one whose works have gone unrecognized, I think. She has been very helpful in every event that the city has, whether it's a city event, whether it's a business association event, whether it's some other type of community event. She is always there volunteering, always there planning, always helping out, even when she doesn't have a role or a title. And none of these organizations, whether it be the city, whether it be the business association, whether it just be the community as a whole, would not survive without residents like Diane. So in my 10 years in office as council and 8 years as mayor, I've watched her sit at meetings and advocate and work hard and not really get any credit. So I thought I would give her due at my last meeting. So to Diane Kallmeyer, in appreciation of dedicated service to the city, community, and businesses of Mount Healthy.
Thank you.
Let me get this fixed before I give it to her, actually. I think Dwight's taking a picture. Sorry about that. Thank you. All right, and thank you too. And Vicky, I called you first, the little ones.
They appreciate that.
Mayor, very well done. Thank you. Okay. That's the end of the special
Yep,
events?
that's the end of that.
Okay.
Yeah. Got more downstairs, I'll fix it.
It's time for public input. If there's anybody here who would like to address council, you can come up to the podium
Done it before.
and have your say. Okay. All right, nobody wishes to address council tonight? Okay, moving on then, mayor's report, Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, three things. Just kind of wrapping up a few things I've been updating, and they will still be going on. So the Artworks project that has been in development for way too long, we're promised by Artworks it's finally back on track. We're now working with the third employee from Artworks. So this is nothing on We Thrive's end or the city's end. It's still in development, but now we're working with the third community person. So Betty Bullis is on the We Thrive committee and with 3CMH. So she will be kind of liaison between the both to make sure any of that planning involves both the economic development planning and the We Thrive planning, so they go hand in hand. And that would obviously come before council to be approved before there's any public projects. But it is the third person now. We do have a name. They are meeting with We Thrive. So that just happened. The other thing, the HEAL grant that I talked about last year for active transportation, they finished up the community input. So now that's what they used, that's what the grant went towards in 2023. In 2024, they will spend the time creating the plan, and then implementation would be after that. It works very much like the Safe Routes to Schools grant, in that there will be a plan, they'll present it to city council, and then it'll be up to city council and to implement anything they choose to do or choose not to do. And funding would come from the county as well for that. So community input was done. They're gonna be working on the planning stage this year, or next year. So be prepared to hear more about that. And then the last thing, the last big grant that I talked about, that was a collaboration between the schools, Tecan Farm, We Thrive, the Wetland Forest, and Love and Action Ministries, that's the one dealing with the poetry program. That will be very immersive. It includes the trips down to the Underground Railroad Freedom Center. It includes competitions to send kids from our community to the state championship or state competition in poetry. It's called Poetry Out Loud. It also now includes, and we will be getting money for this soon, will include signage that will be lit up with solar and will include, it'll be attached to trees. It's called Poetry, and will have poems that are written by students in the Poetry Out Loud program. And that will be put in places throughout the city. It'll be at Tecan Farm, it'll be at, in Cloven Oak Apartments, throughout the city, private property, and they'll ask for permission on public property, once that comes up, as well as, within the school properties. So that is something to be kind of neat, kind of like a wayfinding scavenger hunt. You can walk around the city and see the poems. The poems will also change. They're deciding on the timeline, whether it's quarterly, whether it's monthly, whether it's twice a year. But the funding is in for that. So those groups are all meeting together to choose the design and figure out where to move from there. But that's moving forward as well. Other than that, that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Questions for the mayor? Okay, thank you, Mayor. Next on the list is the city manager, Mr. Scott Bauer.
Yeah, a few things. Fire department had union negotiations for half the day on Friday. Went really well. Next meeting is January 2nd. We'll continue. The AFG and SAFER grants, both have been denied. So that was for the new fire engine and for personnel. Both were denied. And actually, this January is when I don't know if they're both opened up, but at least one of them is opened up. So within the next month, we can try again. Police, today it was announced Officer Ben Jones will become our new detective. So we're going to go from Detective Jones to Detective Jones. So excited for him. His effective date will be February 4th. He's going to go through a little bit of training, make some contacts with the county. You know, if there's a big cases, a lot of times we'll bring in the county, so it's important for him to be aware of all the resources that are available outside the city. But February 4th is his start date for that position. And currently everyone's on 12-hour shifts, but the detective, just FYI, it's a typical 9 to 5. He'll be here Monday through Friday if anyone ever needs to contact the detective. I put just 2 copies. I think Cordell, you had one in front of you, and Bob, maybe you had the other one. So we're looking. We have a new cruiser, looking to get the decals on it. There's kind of 2 options. Right now, we don't have the police Mount Healthy listed. It's just the Shield on our current cruisers. So we're trying to make it a little bit more obvious what it is. And I think really the main difference is if we want. I kind of prefer having the Shield, but it's that blue line and whether or not we want the Shield. So. Chief was interested in everyone's point of view. So let me know if you got preferences. It's not been done yet, so.
Got money in the budget for that?
We budgeted for it.
Oh, we did, okay.
Well, I think, is this the one that, did we wait 2 years for this one? So, yeah.
Not it.
Took a little while to get it. So let me know. That's police. Let's see, we had an economic development meeting before this, talked a little bit about grants, so grant update. The CDAP, that's for facade improvements, that's due January 19th, so starting to put together a formal quote for that. The CDBG, that window opens up in January, February. Don't really know the deadlines for it until they actually formally open it up in the next couple months here, but getting some projects together for that. I attended the library community engagement event. That seemed to be well attended. The poster boards that they set up are actually in the current library, if anyone wants to go and look at them. I don't know how much they're going to stick to those renderings. I think they were very, I don't know, preliminary, just kind
A rough
of put out the vibe and get engagement, and see what people were interested in. But the poster boards are still up in there in the library. Christmas in Mount Healthy, that was on Saturday. I attended that as well. Beautiful weather. Seemed like there was people everywhere. The skating rink was well attended. Seemed like people were going out in every business throughout the whole day. So it's a good event. Let's see. We haven't talked about the antique mall in a while. So the port has accepted our application for the demolition of the antique mall. It still has to be submitted to the state. I think it's the Ohio Department of Development. We won't know until May if that's approved, but the county, at least through the port, has accepted that application. So possibly by the end of the year, we could start. Let's see.
Have you notified the HVAC company?
Yes, they have been notified.
Are they looking for another place?
Yes. I mean, I basically gave them a March 1st deadline. I didn't find out till today, actually, that it probably won't even be till May that we find out. The county does expect that it will, or the port expects that it will be approved. They can't say 100%, but they got in early, and I guess there's points for if you apply early. So there's high expectation that it will be approved, but it won't happen till May. I've basically told.
Oh, I thought you said they were going to start the first of the year.
Well, I think that's what the port put down as the timeline, but I don't understand how they came up with that. It was their timeline, and you can't even be approved till May, so I don't quite follow. But so that won't be till middle of next year at the earliest. Let's see.
Mr. Redding has a question.
Just yeah, go for
quick
it.
question. I don't know if there is anything of historical value, but is there a way we could maybe talk with Historical Society to make sure if there is anything in there that
Right.
might be of historical value?
That is the plan. I mean, Justin and I have talked numerous times that just we need to get in there and make sure we at least kind of
Okay.
rummage through a little bit just to see if there's anything of interest. But
Okay.
there's definitely some really old stuff in that basement. It'd probably be kind of cool to keep. So we'll be on that. We won't let them just knock it down with all that stuff in
Okay.
there. So. Let's see. Tomorrow is the Christmas lunch. Council is invited. That'll be, I don't know exactly what time we'll start, around noonish. Let's see. Let's embarrass somebody here real quick. So Sarah Danks is here, who has expressed interest in the clerk of council. She works for Little Dutch. She's got a degree from UC, has numerous volunteer experiences, heard wonderful things, and sells delicious pastries. So if you would like to meet or talk with her afterwards, this is Sarah Danks. Final, I give a shout out to Mayor Jamie. It's been a pleasure working with you. I know it's your last meeting. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Bauer. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Going to move on to ordinances, resolutions. We have a number of them to go through, I guess. Ordinance number 23-2029. Ordinance authorizing the city manager to perform all actions necessary to support continuation of the government natural gas aggregation program with opt-out provisions to section 4929-26, Ohio Revised Code. Directing the city manager to extend a supply agreement with Direct Energy Services, LLC, contract and documents as required, and declaring an emergency.
Hopefully the last time you'll have to read that.
Yeah.
So this page was on your desk. This has the newest quotes, as long as the ones previously quoted. It has continued, the price has continued to go down. The consultants continue to recommend Direct Energy 24 months. Sort of a little twist. Passing the legislation, again, you're just locking in the supplier, which would be Direct Energy, the term, which would be 24 months, and I guess it's columns 3, 4, and 5, that formula to calculate the rate. The consultants are recommending, even though it's a 24-month term, to break it into two 12-month rates. The current 12-month rate is below $5. That was a good price point for them, where they felt that it was good to recommend breaking it up into just a 12-month term. So it'd be up to council to decide if they would want to do one 24-month rate or two 12-month rates. But again, the legislation specifically is the supplier and a 24-month term.
So if we do that, you mentioned earlier we could take the 12-month rate, but then we have to take the 12-month rate next year, the following year.
Right, and you can set that rate basically at any point. For the-
Again,
for
we
the
could look
second
at it
12
in
months. Yeah.
November, December, January, and
Yeah, you'd have until February of 2025,
Set
basically
the
to set.
24, yeah.
if we take a 2-year rate, we can go ahead with the 1 year now, and then do another year next year.
Yeah, so if you did 24 months, it'd be around the 5.2, and you'd be stuck with that for 24 months.
yeah,
Or you can do the lesser and roll the dice and,
That's the thing, I'd like to continue looking at it, but this rate is pretty daggone good.
Yep.
It's a good rate.
so they, in general, what they've recommended through the whole process is, the same direct energy 24 months, but to lock in that formula, and then we could lock in the rate at any point. And I don't remember when we started the process, it was 2 months ago by now. They wanted us to pass it and then just sit. Well, now they actually are recommending that we pass it and lock in the rate tomorrow, basically.
12-month rate.
The 12-month rate. If you still want to sit on the 24-month, that could still make sense. $5 was basically there. Once it's below this, you should lock it in.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is pretty good, 4.861.
Yeah.
Yep. So it'd be just kind of council's preference if you want to try to wait and see if the 24-month will get below 5, or if you want to just lock in that 12-month.
It could go the other way.
Yeah. Now that the snow's starting to hit, that's what they were saying. Once it actually gets cold, that's going to start pushing the price back up.
Yep.
You can lock in the second 12 months at the same time? Not that you necessarily want to.
No,
but
it's gonna
you
have to be
can.
whatever it is next year, right?
Yeah, and I'd have to see
Okay,
how these rates would change. Yeah. Yeah, you can't cheat and say, well, I want two 12-month
right,
terms.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can't,
Yeah, we'll have to start looking at it
you
in
can't try
November.
locking it in May or June.
Right.
Yeah.
But they can.
August, yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to them today. They can basically, once we lock in our formula, they can set up basically a mailing list. Like every week, we'll send you what your rate would be for a 12-month, so we can just follow it. And so at any point, we can lock in that second window.
Any point from now on?
I believe so, yeah.
The
do
second
the
rate,
24
the second year?
Yeah, it's not going to be this.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah, that's what I would have to get a
Okay.
new quote
They'll
for.
be out to farther futures. It'll probably be closer to the 24-month rate.
Right, probably, yeah.
Up in the 5.25, whatever.
So they don't have an open window of when you can lock it in, it's just
Well, I guess
the whole next year?
That was my understanding, yeah, that it could be at any point. I'm sure they're going to build that uncertainty into their own pricing, so.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah,
Tom
they're
said,
not-
it's probably
yeah,
going to be
they-
closer to the 24-month rate, but,
Yeah,
Might as well lock it in.
yeah.
okay.
And they've said they have other municipalities that do that, basically, and they get on this weekly mailing list so they can see it, and they can just constantly be checking, okay, when do we actually want to pull the trigger for the second term? So we would not be the only municipalities doing it this way.
Okay,
Yeah.
yep.
What's this side over here think?
That's surprising.
Lock it in.
Go with that.
24 months or 12?
The 12. I
And
think,
do what they're saying is,
right,
Yeah.
watch it and lock it in later.
right.
Lock it.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that what I'm hearing, council?
Yep. So we need to, everybody got questions? We need to say, I make a motion, we adopt ordinance number 23-2029 and accept the direct energy 12-month rate
4.861.
of 4.861.
And we still want, we for sure want the 24-month.
With the,
Term.
24-month plan
With the,
calculation.
with
Yep.
the reopener for 20, yeah.
Understood.
a rate reopener. I'll second that,
Who made the motion?
Bob.
Bob,
Okay, Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt 2029. Mr. Redding has seconded, and that's to lock in a 24-month plan, or 12-month plan at
24-month
Month
plan
plan.
with a 12-month rate.
Month rate.
12-month rate.
Yeah,
at 4.861.
with the,
So tomorrow I will contact them, and, I mean, it obviously won't be exactly like this, the rate changes every single day, but I'm gonna pull the trigger on the 12-month.
I mean, yes.
Okay.
I mean, we could go back and forth. I mean, Christmas, it's supposed to be 50 degrees again here by the end of the week,
getting
so
warm.
it's hard to tell at this point,
It's a
but below
gamble.
5 is good.
Anybody have any more questions? Okay, then we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Lingo,
aye.
Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Ms. Rissel.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 23-2029 is adopted. The next ordinance is ordinance number 23-2030, an ordinance to set compensation for elected officials of the city of Mount Healthy. Had the first reading on December 5th. And this is still the same ordinance we had previously to set the compensation, right? That it's attached to, what is the,
It's on the back.
well, yeah, but what's the government
CPIU.
CPI.
CPIU? I'm sorry.
3.2%.
Okay. So in passing this, we're not changing anything. It's still the same formula that we set up years and years ago.
Yes, sir.
And then,
Because if you vote yourself a pay raise, you can't receive that pay raise while you're in office.
correct, yeah, that's what the rule was, is the old, yeah,
And that's
many,
why-
many years ago.
That's why
and
we
then-
changed it.
so, yeah, so basically the CPIU sets our rate.
Right.
Except for last year, we
We
did
voted ourselves
voted
as
to
zero.
freeze ourselves,
Freeze
yes.
ourselves.
Okay. Questions or comments? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 23-2030.
Okay, Ms. Lingo has made a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Mr. George has seconded.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Ms. Rissel.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 23-2030 is adopted. The next one is ordinance number 23-2031, an ordinance to set compensation for certain full-time employees of the city of Mount Healthy. And Exhibit A has all that listed.
It's just the same.
We had the first reading on this on December 5th.
Yep.
Questions or comments?
I make a motion to approve ordinance 23-2031.
And I second.
Okay, Mr. Redding has made a motion to adopt. Ms. Dosa has seconded.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Ms. Rissel.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 23-2031 is adopted. Okay, ordinance number 23-2032, an ordinance to set compensation for certain appointed officials and part-time employees of the city of Mount Healthy. Which again, we had the reading at the last council meeting on the 5th of December. Questions or comments, council?
I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 23-2032.
Ms. Dosa has made a motion to adopt.
I'll second that.
Mr. Young seconded. Roll call.
Mrs. Lingo.
Aye.
Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Mr. Redding.
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa.
Aye.
Mr. George.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Ms. Rissel.
By a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 23-2032 is adopted. Ordinance 23-2033. An ordinance to set compensation for certain full-time fire department employees of the city of Mount Healthy. Once again, it was had first reading at the last meeting.
Just to reiterate, this is a placeholder. That will be their rates the first of the year until their contract is approved, and then they would get caught up to
Right.
whatever the contract is, or
Retroactive to the first. Everybody understand that? Ask for a motion to adopt.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 23-2033.
Okay, Mr. Rennie has made a motion to adopt.
I'll second that.
Mr. Parsons has seconded. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo.
Aye.
Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Mr. Redding.
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa.
Aye.
Mr. George.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Ms. Rissel.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 23-2033 is adopted. Ordinance number 23-2034, an ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Mount Healthy during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. Bob,
I was gonna say-
turn to you. Any comments?
Looks pretty good. We got about I'm not sure, $40,000 surplus with this budget, with the estimated revenues. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's been better, though.
It's been better, but we're
It's
having a
been-
lot
it's
more
also been
expenses.
worse.
Yeah, we're having a lot of expenses this year.
Yeah.
Things are getting more expensive.
That's for sure.
So, yeah, so Ross, if we came in right on budget, expenses versus the budget, we would be everything that we're holding now plus the 40,000. So just so you know, that carryover is bigger than $40,000 going into '25. Okay.
Just for the current year, revenues versus expenses, it's a 40,000 surplus.
Yes.
Okay, any questions, comments? It's not set in stone. When we have to move things around a little bit, we move things around. But this is our guidelines, what we try to keep to.
Correct.
Yeah, this,
Right.
and Scott, this does not imply anything, correct? This is just, well, never mind. I'm going back to the other one, so never mind. I'll leave it at that.
This is what we hope happens.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 23-2034.
Okay, Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. George has seconded. Roll call when you're ready.
Mrs. Lingo.
Aye.
Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Mr. Redding.
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa.
Aye.
Mr. George.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Ms. Rissel.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance 23-2034 is approved. Okay, I got a little, 2035 is okay to go, right? Okay. Ordinance number 23-2035. It's an ordinance to transfer funds from the general fund to other funds covering budgeted expenditures.
So this is part of housekeeping. The first three items were on our original budget. It's just whenever funds go between different funds, the auditors like to see additional support, so this is just It was already approved in the original budget for 2023. This is just an additional step, just to make sure we crossing our Ts, dotting our Is. The fourth one, that road projects, that's the Compton Road. Hopefully, we'll get the reimbursement before the end of the year. If we do get it, we actually won't have to do this transfer, but currently the road fund is negative because we're waiting for SORTA to reimburse us. So if we get the money by the end of the year, we won't actually even need to do it. But, so it's an expense we knew was coming. Then the 500, that's the economic development for the CURC. That was paid out of the 820 fund, which is our property acquisition fund. That fund doesn't have any revenue, so we just have to transfer money in to cover the expense. So
Okay.
that's what those items are.
Are there any other questions?
Oh, I thought we transferred more than 500,000.
We did
Then it's
two
five-
250s, 250 twice.
I thought one was
Second was
260.
Maybe we only
Unless
actually did
something happened.
250.
Thought it-
Remember what we did, Melanie?
We just did the check is,
And we can
we
change
did
it to
it for-
510, right?
I think we did 250.
Yeah, Bob might be right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the purchase price for the property was 260, so,
There was money in a fund.
so maybe
We
just
had
change it
to-
to, what do we do, make a motion to change it to 510
Amend it.
instead of 500?
As amended, yeah.
Yeah,
We can make the change,
yeah.
because it hasn't been done yet, so.
Yeah, that's a good catch, yeah. I'm pretty sure it was 250 and 260, so,
And that's under economic development?
correct, yeah.
So that 500,000 should be 510.
Yep.
Does everybody get that change?
Yes.
Which makes the total 1170, right?
643, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
640.
Is it going from the general fund to the specific funds?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
correct.
This is not an emergency.
It is.
Yes.
Needs to be passed
Well, it
tonight.
needs to be passed.
1170 has to be changed up at the top, top and
Yes.
bottom.
Do we have to change that to say that?
Is that what you're saying, the heading up top and declaring an emergency? Is that what we're saying?
Declaring an emergency?
Yeah.
Is that what we're saying?
Everybody got those numbers? Okay, what is your wish, council?
I make a motion to suspend the two reading rule on ordinance number 23-2035 as amended.
Second?
Okay, Mr. Parsons made a motion to adopt,
To suspend the two
Suspend
reading.
the two
I'm
reading
sorry, to
rules.
suspend the two reading rule. Mr. Redding has seconded.
And declaring an emergency? That's like it will take effect within
Roll
30
call.
days. Is that what-
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Ms. Rissel.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, the two reading rule has been suspended on ordinance 23-2035. Are there any more questions or comments? Then I would ask for a motion to adopt
I make a,
what's the term?
With the corrections.
as amended.
Yeah, with the corrections.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance number 23-2035 as amended.
Okay, Mr. George has made a motion to adopt as amended.
I second.
Ms. Dosa has seconded. Roll call if you're ready.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mr. George,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Ms. Rissel.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance 23-2035 is approved. I have two 2036s.
I do too.
This is the right one,
The one that's on our desk?
because it has the correct attachments.
Okay.
How do I know one from another?
They're the same exact thing, except the attachments are, this is the correct attachments.
Okay. Ordinance 23-2036 has an attachment to the back of it, which the first one did not. An ordinance amending the 2023 appropriations and declaring an emergency.
Ms. Finance Director, should the last number be 510,000?
Yes.
$2,840,600.
Yeah.
Which one was that?
At the very end. So we just changed it on the,
Special funds, the last,
should be 510.
Yeah, so this is the other part of our housekeeping. This is putting a final bow on the 2023 budget. We looked to see if there were any overages. So this is asking to supplement the original budget that was passed for 2023. So the amounts listed in the supplemental, those are the additions that you'll be approving. You know, some of this stuff is, you know, we had an additional pool repairs that, you know, ended up going over budget. Our IT fees increased more than we anticipated. Some of it is good. The mayor department, 8,000, it's because we got additional We Thrive funds, so we were able to spend more because we got a grant. It's kind of things like that. Let's see.
is,
There's a big one in fire. We had, most of it was additional maintenance on the engine. We've got two pretty old engines. That was the majority of it. The police levy, that we just have to that just means we got actually more police levy funds in, income tax. Then there's the $1 million in the SIP fund on the last page. We don't typically budget road projects at the beginning of the year just because we never know if we're even going to get approved for the project. So that $1 million represents the Compton Road project.
on the police levy, I thought you were gonna stick with the budget amount. Because that's what we should have gotten from the income tax.
So we originally budgeted, let's see, 450, was it 525-ish?
533 or something, 580?
So what's going to come in is probably between 650 and 700, something like that, the actual income tax?
No, I don't think so. I think that's what's gonna come in.
You think the 525 is what's going to come in?
Yeah.
I think we've already received over 600.
Well, that's just a bookkeeping entry, isn't it? Did they tell us what we're getting every time you get the money? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we know exactly when the funds come in, they allocate them
I'm
for
sorry,
us.
Break it out.
I thought we knew ahead of time what we were gonna get.
No.
And we booked to that, okay. So it's coming in higher.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, my
Yeah,
bad
so
on
it
that.
means-
But just up above, the transfers are 960. Is that the same transfer we had so that should be 970?
Does that have, yes, yes.
The two, the road project and the economic, yeah. That's at total 1170. Okay.
Anything else on this? Any more questions? I would ask for a motion to suspend the two reading rule.
As
I'll make a motion to suspend a two-reading rule on ordinance 23-2036.
Mr. Young has made a motion to suspend
Second.
the two reading rule, seconded by Mr. George.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye?
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Ms. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 23-2036 had the second reading rule suspended. The two reading rule suspended. Is there any more questions or comments? Then I would ask the motion to adopt.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 23-2036.
Okay, Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt. Do I have a
Second.
second? Ms. Lingo?
Remember my name.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Ms. Stosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Ms. Driscoll?
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 23-2036 is approved. That is the end of our ordinances. Resolutions. We have no resolutions to have any readings on. So we go to old business. Mr. Parsons.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to talk to JMA about the bids on Harrison? Why there was such a discrepancy?
Not yet,
Okay.
not yet.
Mr. Redding.
And this is just due to my lack of memory. The speed humps, are we looking to do those under the 2023 CDBG grant or the 2024 grant?
I was wanting to bring this up as well. So I sent out that email, I guess it was last Wednesday. I was hoping we'd get a chance to talk about it in the economic development meeting, but I have two quotes for streetscape studies. The original plan for our current 3-year window, so 21, 22, 23, was at, how much was it, 65,000 for streetscape, 70,000 has been approved for streetscape improvements. The original plan was that we would get a study done, and then that would kind of help steer us in the right direction. So I have quotes for two of them. They're probably $40,000 to $50,000 each. So I guess I just wanted to see if I think that's the direction we should go, and that's what the county is recommending. And then the remainder, they were totally fine with us using some of that to implement it, which they considered speed humps as part of implementing the streetscape.
Okay. So will that
Project.
130 cover, that'll cover everything, including the facade improvement?
So the facade is the 25K, that's pretty much already taken up. And then the streetscape is 70, so if, say 50 goes to the study, then there's 20 left to implement the study, which speed humps could be included in.
Okay, so it won't quite get all of the, say, top 5 priority streets. I think we were looking at 5 streets.
Right.
Potentially.
Right.
With the most important being Adams Road,
Right.
especially with the school there.
Yeah, so we've purchased one this year, and then if there was 20 left, right, we could get 20,000 left. I don't know if we'd want to spend all of that on speed humps.
We could
but-
get 3 more sets, probably. They were
Right.
6,000
Okay.
Yeah,
something each.
if we wanted to use it all for speed humps, I mean, I guess we'd have to
No,
confirm that it could all be
good. I
used for
just
speed humps, but.
needed to be refreshed on what that plan, so we're looking at speed humps this spring of 2024, basically.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to check with Justin what the delivery time is, but we have ordered at least one
Okay.
set, so I would hope they'd be here by the spring, but,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Excellent. Thank you,
And then-
sir.
Yeah, then again, like I mentioned before, the new window is going to start beginning of this coming year. I don't have timeframes yet or deadlines, but I'm sure we would have public hearings and get, talk to the public about what they would want to do. So I guess I just want to make sure that from what my email said, that we wanted to stick with the streetscape, go with one of the studies, and then use the remaining funds for speed humps or maybe whatever else
Okay.
the study recommends.
And that was, in your email, that was recommended by.
Yeah, that's what the county's recommending
Yes.
as well. I mean, that's what we'd originally applied for.
They want this spent.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
want it done and
understand.
spent with the new cycle coming up.
Yep.
Yeah, they just,
Yep.
anything that could cause a speed hump is, they just worry that it could cause it to not be spent. So they just want us to stick with our original plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is part of, speed humps are part of streetscape, right?
Right.
Okay,
Exactly.
excellent.
Exactly. So, and I guess with that being said, I have those two. I don't think we have to decide tonight or anything, but there's one from a place called Human Nature and one from CM Tran. That two separate quotes. They kind of do slightly different perspectives, but I don't know how we want them. And more than welcome to set up a meeting with either of the groups to see if we agree with kind of the their pitch and how they would go about it, but they'd actually bring out people and would analyze Hamilton Avenue and do some renderings, come up with ideas, traffic calming, but just beautification. I think it would kind of include everything.
Yeah.
Do you want a bike lane? Do you want, whatever? I mean, it could be, they kind of want to get our perspective as well, like what is our vision for Hamilton Avenue, and they would incorporate that.
Have they given you any ideas, or they've just given you a bid to do the study?
A bid to do the study.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I will, just kind of my last pitch, Human Nature worked with us on the Main Street, or the main theater planning. Jim, you're the one that introduced them to us, right? And those guys were great. They also have done extensive hardscaping at the Playhouse in the Park and other prominent areas. They do a great job. I don't know anything about the other one. They might be great as well, but
Yeah, I think either would be good, and happy to walk you through the quotes, and then we can set up meetings. I mean, I think that's kind of what they're expecting as well, that we'd create some kind of a group to.
Come in and make a presentation to
Yeah.
council?
Is that what you'd like? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, great.
Other old business, council. New business. Yes, Ms. Lingo.
Are we going to do swearing in on the first or the first meeting?
past few years, we've done it the first meeting.
Yeah, I know. I just want,
that
okay, I
okay
just want to
with
make
you?
sure.
That's the second.
That's January 2nd.
That's our first meeting, so, okay, I just want to make sure.
Okay, any other new business, council? Ms. Lingo?
First, I just want to say it was, thank Jamie for all your hard work, and it was great working with you. Did a great job on council and as mayor.
You all.
Thank you, sir.
On par, so. I
be
submitted my application to 3CMH, so we'll see if they accept it. I submitted it today and uploaded my resume, so we'll see. I may be over there helping them out. We'll see. Yep. And I wish Jenny all the luck in the world.
So now I'll make, oh, sorry.
I'm very thankful that I'm following you.
Thanks.
You've done a great job.
Thank you.
Have informed us all and worked hard to bring it on and your focus and depth to how we think about how the future of our city. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Denise?
Now I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Ms. Lingo has made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Young has seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Merry Christmas,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas.
Meeting opposed? Meeting is adjourned.